Hi everybody, this is Hana with Team Elite, where we inspire you to dream big and go bold. We are at our Napoleon Hill interactive series. This is going to be the live audiobook series of Think and Grow Rich. Right now we are on chapter 2, video number 2, Desire. So let's get into this, Fahid. We first left off on, let me just kind of give you guys a recap. The method by which desire for riches can be transmuted into its financial equivalent consists of 6 definite practical steps.
So these are practical steps, meaning you got to do it. Don't skip it. You got to do it. It's not an option.
No
you
option.
Do it. Exactly.
No option. And guys, we are gonna have these 6 steps on the bottom of the video. So if you have the book, that's the best option. Follow along. If not, go ahead, check out the bottom of the video and follow along with us. So first, fix in your mind the exact amount of money you desire. It is not sufficient merely to say, I want plenty of money. Be definite as to the amount. There is a psychological reason for definiteness, which will be described in a subsequent chapter.
So the first thing you want to do, Hana, is you want to write down exactly how much money you desire, or for any other desire that you have. But specifically for this exercise, I want to write down exactly how much money I want. I'm just going to give everybody an example. I'm going to write down, I would like to have, or I want to have, or this is exactly how much I'm going to get on spendable money per month, right? Income. You could make $20,000 in your business, but your portion may be $5,000. So we got to be specific about that, right? So I want $20,000 in spending money per month. Now, we're doing this per month, not annually. We want to do it on a monthly basis so we get a rhythm going, and then you might be able to do it on your own. What you want per year, annually, next 5 years, next 10 years, how much you want in income, how much you want saving. You could do all that stuff. But let's start off easy so we kind of get into the habit of doing it. Then you may modify it as you see need. So the first thing you need to do is write down exactly how much money you would like to have every single month. And we're going to write it down physically.
Okay, sounds good, guys. Number 2, second. Determine exactly what you intend to give in return for the money you desire. There is no such reality as something for nothing.
So what am I going to do? How am I going to render services? What am I going to do? For example, I'm going to say, we're in financial services. Let's do that. I'm going to render the best services possible by helping people learn how money works. Or I'm going to help people in their real estate needs. I'm gonna help people in being the best doctor possible, or I'm gonna heal people in the best way that I'm capable of doing. So whatever that case be, how are you gonna do that? Why do you deserve the $20,000 a month? Why do you deserve the $10,000 a month? What are you going to give in return? In return, I'm going to show up to the office every day. In return, I'm going to work 12 hours a day. In return, I'm going to do certain things. So you got to write that down. And there's so many professions, we can't go through every single one. But for me, because I'm in financial services, I'm going to say I'm going to come to the office every day, help families, put plans in place for their future. That might be in a way of college planning, retirement planning, or showing them how to grow their money tax-free. So I'm going to actually write that down word by word. Don't worry about how long it is, as long as you don't want to write an essay about it, but you definitely want to elaborate.
Very nice.
So what's number 3?
Number 3, third. Establish a definite date when you intend to possess the money you desire.
So we got to put a date on it. Now, what I did on mine when I wrote it, I said I want to do, let's say, $20,000 per month, and then I went down, and what I did on number 3, I put down, okay, within the next 12 months, this is how much it's going to be. What's going to be is 12 times 20, that's $240,000. So within the next 12 months, I'm going to have $240,000. So you kind of multiply that by 12, so you calculate it annually for yourself.
So it's not good enough to just say the beginning of next month, the beginning of June.
No. So you start, let's say your time that's starting is today, June 1st, 2018.
Okay.
That's totally fine. So I'm going to go June 2018 to June 2019. So I'm giving myself 12 months. Within 12 months, I'm going to do this. Now, you may not hit that number every single month. It might come 1 month shorter, but overall, within the next 12 months, you're going to need to hit the $240,000. Why? Because I wanted $20,000 per month. What happens with a lot of people when you write it, because it's stretching your vision in where you're going, it might seem impossible at the beginning. But you'll be surprised on like the 10th and 11th month, you'll be hitting that. Why? Because you are writing down exactly. Goal number 4, I'm going to tell you exactly how we're going to solve that.
Fourth, create a definite plan for carrying out your desire and begin at once, whether you are ready or not, to put this plan into action.
So, what is your plan? Again, I'm going to go back to me being in financial services. Well, in financial services, I got to educate individuals on how money works, how financial products work, how to do college planning and retirement planning for the future of your children or yourself. So I got to educate. So my plan is to sit in front of 5 people every single day. So I'm actually going to write that down. Now, in order for me to sit in front of 5 people, I might need to contact 10 people. I might need to be prospecting. I might need to be, putting more videos on social media. I might be generating more leads for myself. Whatever the case might be. And everybody does that. If you're a hairstylist, you want to make $10,000 a month. Well, divide it up. On an average, let's say 20 to 50 bucks per haircut. Well, you'll know exactly how many clients you're going to need to have to do that. If you're a dry cleaner, how much is it per average average client? How much do they pay you? Divide that by $20,000. That's exactly how many you need to do. And then you reverse engineer. You go back and find out exactly how much do I need to do to be able to get that? How much work do I need to do? How many clients do I need? How much of my services do I have to render to people, to potential clients, for me to be able to generate that? The planning part and writing it down, that takes mental activity. That takes brain power. Yeah. You got to actually sit down. That's why a lot of people don't hit their goals, Hannah. Because they're not thinking about it. They're not analyzing it. This is not a contest of how fast can you write this thing down. No. You could actually be spending 5 hours on this. Just on these 6 steps. So you got to spend time on actually doing that. Writing down exactly what the goal is, what the plan is. And then you start doing it immediately. Whether you have it perfected or not, you start doing it immediately. And here's the best part. You'll know if it's working within the first 30 days. If you're on the right track or if you need to modify. So this is your plan. This is not set in stone. If you need to modify to hit your goals, modify it. Put more plans in place. Elaborate more. Enroll other individuals to help you also in that process if need be. So you're not alone. Teamwork.
Number 5. Fifth, write out a clear, concise statement of the amount of money you intend to acquire. Name the time limit for its acquisition. State what you intend to give in return for the money, and describe clearly the plans through which you intend to accumulate it.
So now we're actually writing it down. Through the steps is very, very important. If you don't have a pen and paper, you might want to stop this video, grab a pen and paper. Doesn't matter what it is, a booklet, whatever you got, any extra notebook that you got. Start grabbing it and start building that for yourself. Start writing it. I noticed I've been doing this for almost 8 years, and I have kept all my papers that I've written my affirmation on, where I have to read in the morning and afternoon, and I got those. And then guess what ends up happening? The first one that I wrote, it wasn't that concise. It didn't have all the steps. It didn't have all the plans. It was actually missing some of the components that needed to be there. But you get better at it over the years. And when you go back and look at all the goals and all the material things that you wanted is actually coming true. So that's when you start believing in this thing more. Because I didn't believe in this thing.
Right.
If it was just me thinking about it, put a goal and write it down and it comes true, why is everybody else not doing it? Why so many people live their lives through as a failure? Not that they're bad people. It's just that they're not being successful in their field. They're not being the top 10, 20, 30 people in their field. And that's the reason, because it's just a little bit abnormal, because you and I have not been trained or taught this way, that write it down, reverse engineer it, put it down, modify it, write the goals, how much do you want, not just wishful thinking, I want a big house. Step number 6.
Sixth, read your written statement aloud twice daily, once just before retiring at night.
Minimum twice per day.
And once after arising in the morning. As you read, see and feel and believe yourself already in possession of the money.
What that means is that you constantly got to remind yourself. It's got to be in front of your mind constantly. So what you want to do is, you want to have it, you write on a piece of paper. Usually it will take an 8.5 by 11 to write down what is it that you want, all your goals that you want to achieve. And on the reverse page, you're going to write down what you're going to give in return for that. What are the bad habits you're going to eliminate? What are some of the good habits that you want to acquire, right? So you got to write that. I fold it. You gotta have it. You could keep it in your pocket, or by your bed, or wherever you're more comfortable to have it. And then you want to read it minimum 2 times per day. Once when you wake up and once when you're about to go to sleep. So it's in front of your mind and you're constantly reading it, reminding yourself of what you promised to yourself and what you're going to do. And this way you're going to keep true to it. Now, at the beginning, I don't believe 2 times is enough. You got to do a little bit more. Yeah. So if you can keep it with yourself in your pocket, jacket pocket, wherever, just side pocket, whatever. Or these days people have cell phones. You can take a screenshot of it and read it. Whatever, it doesn't matter. I like the physical paper, right? But you got to constantly remind yourself of that and read it. It's very, very important. It's kind of a little bit cheesy to do it. When you do it, especially your girlfriend or your boyfriend or your husband or wife doesn't know what you're doing, and you're reading this paper constantly and everything else, sometimes they might think you're gone cuckoo, right? But that's what it takes. And
I know we're going to get into a little bit more about the as you read, see and feel and believe. So we're going to get more into that, but I think there's a lot in that one sentence.
Definitely. You got to visualize it in the possession of the money or your goals that you wanted to accomplish. You got to visualize it. You got to meditate on it. You got to think about it, right? You got to put it in your mind. Your brain needs to start going to work, right? You kind of brainwashing yourself for success.
It is important that you follow the instructions described in these 6 steps. It is especially important that you observe and follow the instructions in the 6th paragraph. You may complain that it is impossible for you to see yourself in the possession of the money before you actually have it. Here is where a burning desire will become into your aid. If you truly desire money so keenly that your desire is an obsession, you will have no difficulty in convincing yourself that you will acquire it.
Write a check to yourself for $1 million. Mm-hmm. Write a check for whatever the amount is per month. Cross it out, put a void on it, and just hold on to the check. Now you can visualize the money in your possession. It doesn't have to be physical dollar bills. Mm-hmm. You could write a check. It could be a contract that you write to yourself that you're going to pay yourself $1 million, $500,000, $250,000, $20,000, $5,000 a month. Write that check and hold on to the check yourself. Yeah. Staple it to the piece of gold, the piece of paper that you wrote your goals with. Staple it so you can visually see it.
I like that idea.
Or print one, Photoshop one. Whatever you need to do to be able to visualize it.
The object is to want money and to become so determined to have it that you convince yourself you will have it. Only those who become money conscious ever accumulate great riches. Money consciousness means that the mind has become so thoroughly saturated with desire for money that one can see oneself already in possession of it. To the uninitiated who has not been schooled in the working principles of the human mind, these instructions may appear impractical. Mm-hmm. It may be helpful to all who fail to recognize that the soundness of the 6 steps to know that the information they convey was received from Andrew Carnegie, who began as an ordinary laborer in the steel mills, but managed, despite his humble beginning, to make these principles yield him a fortune of considerably more than $100 million.
I mean, you got to read his story. He started in the steel mills, and he started. One of the things that happened to him, Hannah, we won't get into the autobiography of it, but Carnegie, what happened was he had a mentor. Mm-hmm. He worked so hard that one of the successful individuals of his time actually noticed him and made him his personal assistant. While Carnegie was working for this successful individual, he started noticing how he interacts with successful other individuals and how he conducts business. So he started doing that, and then he started investing in different railroads, steel, different buildings, factories, all that stuff. But that's what ends up happening is you rendering your services to the individuals that can help you succeed in the future. Meaning you are at the service of more successful people that are in your field where you are learning hands-on. Because that training, you might think is shoveling just paperwork, sending faxes, doing this, and sitting in a meeting taking notes or whatever the case might be. But those conversations are the conversations that are needed for you to be successful, because now you see how successful people interact and it's going to rub off on you. That's very important. So when you study these things, I know that, you know, Napoleon Hill, you know, he couldn't go and elaborate this much, or the book would have been 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 pages. But when you read, you keep studying it, all these things, it's like a big jigsaw puzzle where you got the pieces, but now it comes all together. So me knowing that Carnegie saw that, how successful people were conducting, and how he was helping, you know, he was a personal assistant to this successful individual, right? Now I'm listening to it, I'm like, wow, so that's how you get mentorship. By you doing such a good job where the successful people will notice you. They will pick you out from the crowd because they know you're dedicated and you put in. It's a burning desire to be successful, and they're going to notice that because it takes one to know one. So, go ahead.
It may be of further help to know that the 6 steps here recommended were carefully scrutinized by the late Thomas A. Edison, who placed his stamp of approval upon them, as being not only the steps essential for the accumulation of money, but necessary for the attainment of any definite goal. The steps call for no hard labor. They call for no sacrifice. They do not require one to become
So it's very easy. And it's also easy not to do. See, the steps are very easy. You don't have to do hard labor. It's not, if you physically don't need to. Just quiet place, sit down, give yourself maybe an hour, just write it down, meditate on it, look at it, reread it, put the plans in place. And there's so much materials online these days. If you have any difficulty writing these things down, just Google it. There's so many. I did that same thing, 10 years ago. I Googled it, found someone else's affirmation, and I kind of updated the vocabulary that was used in it, and I made it my own.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have a guideline. I didn't have this video that we're doing. This video wasn't available. Yeah. So I went on Google. Somebody else had their affirmation, and I just read it, and I just made it my own. I just updated it, and I kept rereading it, and rewriting it every single year. So now it's mine.
Yeah.
So I share that with other individuals. So you got to do the same thing.
Beautiful. The steps call for no hard labor. They call for no sacrifice. They do not require one to become ridiculous or credulous. To apply them calls for no great amount of education. But the successful application of these 6 steps does call for sufficient imagination to enable one to see and to understand that accumulation of money cannot be left to chance, good fortune, and luck. One must realize that all who have accumulated great fortunes first did a certain amount of dreaming, hoping, wishing, desiring, and planning before they acquired money.
So hoping, wishing, and dreaming about it is totally fine. But once you put the plan in place, now it's going to materialize itself into its physical equivalent, which in many cases what we're doing is we're looking for income. We're looking for money. So it's very, very important that it happens in here first, your mind, not your brain. Brain is a muscle. We're talking about in your mind. So you have the mindset, then you're saying it, verbally is coming out, and with your hands, you're writing it down, and then what are you doing? You're imagining it, believing it, and rereading it to yourself. So you're reconfirming what you had in your mind initially. So we're going to go probably continue the rest of this chapter on another video.
Yeah.
So, but everybody can watch this on our YouTube channel, website, or anything else. If you want to give them the directions for that, that would be cool. But we're going to continue this. This is a very, very important chapter.
Yeah.
So it's going to be probably a couple of videos minimum.
Yeah, guys, just to recap, this is chapter 2, Desire. We are going to follow up with number 3 of this video. And once again, if you guys have any questions, any comments, please go ahead, like, subscribe, comment, give us some feedback. We love your questions and what it is that you guys want to see from us. And we will see you the next time, guys. Thanks so much.